I really look forward to it. But there's something special at the end of the program that is not included here. Should we tell them about it?
Nah, let's keep it a secret.
So wait to the end to find out our special surprise for you at the end of this event. To kickstart this program, we'll be starting by taking the anthems. So please, can we stand on our feet? Nigeria, we hail our own dear native land. Those rise of changing love in God we stand. Nigeria strong to send a sovereign motherland. Our love shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. Peace all to honor. These three comes our spirit to help your children. Our spirit. Oh, now, send gratitude our lonely land. Help us to give devotion, yeah, no, so and so species of blood, see, Nigeria.
Thank you very much. We'll now move to the Great First anthem.
Thank you very much. You can have a seat. So before we start, very quickly, we'll be setting some ground rules. So you'll be raising off your right hand. Raising off your right hand. Let's all do that, please, very quickly. I, Precious, promise to pay attention throughout the program and obey every instruction. I, Precious, promise to pay attention throughout the program and obey every instruction. Thank you very much. So very quickly, starting with the instructions. So during this program, if I say health, you say for all. If I say health, you respond and say for all.
For all.
And
For all. For all.
so we are using this magazine because this is something that the person we are celebrating today, Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti, really believed in and spent his life pushing this legacy. So again, when I say health, you say very quickly. We'll be moving to inviting our distinguished guests to the high table.
We need to introduce the ORK Club.
Yes, we have a special clap for you because we don't want it to be clapping the way you've been clapping. So we'll be introducing the ORK clap now. Sheriff, please, can you teach them?
Okay, so as we introduce our I invited guests, we'd like you to do the ORK clap, and it goes like this. Let's do that. Together. Thank you, everyone. So,
So to start with, it's with so much honor that I would like to welcome our chairman of this occasion, a former chief medical director of this hospital, a former vice chancellor of the Obafemi Awolowo University, a leader par excellence, and a man of great repute, Professor Makonjola Rogers. Our okay clap.
thank you, everyone. So, yeah. Distinguished guests, our next speaker is a man who wears many hats. He is currently serving as the Chief Medical Director of Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospitals Complex. He has been a true symbol of excellence and dedication. Please join me in welcome with another round of the ORK clap as we welcome Professor John Akintunde Oladotun Okeni to the high table.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
You're welcome, sir. So we'll be welcoming
So pardon me, please. Professor John Okeni is also representing the minister, the coordinating minister of health. So can you please give him just one round of applause again for that? Thank you, everyone.
thank you. So next we'll be welcoming our mother in the College of Health Sciences, Prof. Benis Adegbengbe, who is unavoidably absent, but is ably represented by our father, Professor Okola. This is ORK clap for him. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I would also like to welcome another mother in the house who has been very instrumental to the success of this program and our activities generally at the Female Journal Club. Professor M.A. Komolafe. This is an ORK clap as she comes to the high table. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Um, some people don't just practice medicine; they also influence it. And our keynote speaker today is one of such great minds. He has served as the provost of the College of Health Sciences, Obafemi Awolowo University, and he has also served as vice chancellor of Elizade University. I also like you to give us a round, an ORK round of applause as we welcome to the high table Professor Kate Ijadola.
Did you? Did you? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Also, as a club, we have a father that very instrumental to the success of this program.
And therefore, what's for Olikoye is more than just what he does. It's also something that has been carried on by his family. And we are deeply honored today to have the family of Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti to be with us today. You are highly welcome. And joining us on the high table is his son, who also carries on that legacy, Dr. Ransome-Kuti. Could you please join us on the high table?
Thank you so much, everyone. So next, we would like to acknowledge some other eminent scholars, administrators, and public health advocates who are with us present. We'd like to acknowledge the presence of Professor M.Y. Ijadola. It's not your present. Okay, she'll be joining us soon. Thank you. We also like to acknowledge the presence of our secondary school students that we invited. Please can they stand up on their feet as we give them an oral cake class? Moremi High School. Thank you. What? Then please celebrate yourself for being here this morning. Thank you very much.
Also, we'd like to recognize the presence of Professor Ibitoye, representing property. Can we please be right back? Thank you.
We don't know if the following medical schools are around. University of Medical Sciences, Undo. Or please stand up on your feet as we welcome you. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you for joining us. Please do have your seat. University of Washington State, are they around? No.
Um, the Ladoke Akintola University students, are they around? Okay, I guess they'll be joining us shortly. Oh, okay. Thank you so much for coming to be with us. Uni Oshun students. Okay. I guess they'll be joining us shortly. So now we would like to take a goodwill message from the Chief Medical Director, who is also here in capacity of the Coordinating Minister of Health and Welfare. Please, a okay round of applause as he comes to give us the goodwill message.
Thank you very much. Before I go into the message, I would just like to welcome everybody, but first to state that in Yoruba, so I have not brought any message as the Chief Medical Director. This message was written and sent to me personally by the minister. He sends his regards and says that he is unable to meet this appointment, but that his mind is fully and committed here. So he sends this personally, and I will deliver it verbatim as best as I can. Before I go into it, I would like to use the opportunity to say that I am also IFEMED. I am an alumnus and I was a member of IFEMED. At my time, I was the graphics editor at a time where that young man sitting there, our chairman of the day, was our chief medical director. So I am immensely honored to deliver this on behalf of the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Ali Pate. He wrote this as his goodwill message to be delivered at the 6th Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti Memorial Public Lecture. He had titled it to be at Odudua Hall, but apparently the venue changed. So, Mr. Chairman, sir, our provosts, friends, colleagues here, ably represented, and most especially Dr. Ransome-Kuti, who is representing the family. It is a profound honor to be invited today to the 6th Olikoye Ransome-Kuti Memorial Public Lecture, an event that pays tribute to the life and legacy of one of Nigeria's most visionary and dedicated medical icons. As we congregate in his memory, we are called both to celebrate his extraordinary contributions and to renew our commitment to the ideals he championed, especially as we confront contemporary challenges in Nigeria's health sector. Permit me to start by referring first to the life and achievements of Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti, who was born on the 30th of December 1927 in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. He was surrounded by a family legacy rooted in strong character and public service. His mother, Chief Fumilayo Ransome-Kuti, was a leading anti-colonial activist, and his brother, Fela Kuti, a cultural revolutionary. Against this backdrop, Professor Olikoye embarked on his education at Abeokuta Grammar School, the University of Ibadan, and the Trinity College in Dublin, from where he returned home to chart a revolutionary course for Nigeria's health sector. As Nigeria's Minister of Health between 1985 and 1992, Professor Ransome-Kuti fundamentally transformed the country's healthcare landscape. He prioritized primary health care as the cornerstone for the nationwide health improvements. His pioneering programs in universal vaccination drastically reduced the burden of preventable infectious diseases such as measles and polio. He also championed oral rehydration therapy to combat childhood diarrheal diseases. He promoted breastfeeding and launched aggressive campaigns in sanitation and hygiene. His leadership was also marked by courage and transparency during the emergence of HIV/AIDS in Nigeria. In 1986, he publicly announced Nigeria's first AIDS case, setting the stage for ongoing national efforts to confront the epidemic. Beyond clinical interventions, Professor Ransome-Kuti stood firm on issues of health equity, on governance and social justice, consistently challenging corruption and advocating for democracy. Internationally, his influence extended beyond the borders of Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, as we honor the tremendous legacy of Professor Ransome-Kuti today, as a proud part of our healthcare system history, our country faces a healthcare workforce crisis of considerable proportions. In the local parlance, it is called Japa syndrome. Without delving into micro statistics, we know that different categories of our healthcare workers are involved in this migration, nurses and doctors being the most involved. And common destinations include the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Saudi Arabia, Australia, and a host of others. This situation presents several complex challenges for the nation's healthcare system. It contributes to longer waiting times for patients and puts added pressure on the quality of care that healthcare workers strive to deliver. The situation also increases workload and stress amongst the existing health staff. It particularly impacts service delivery in rural communities, where attracting and retaining qualified professionals remain a priority. Moreover, the migration trend extends into the academic and research sectors, affecting institutions vital to healthcare, education, and innovation. However, this narrative is not solely one of loss, as recent years have witnessed a joyful trend of return migration, a situation sometimes reversed Japa syndrome. We have health professionals, both expatriates and Nigerians in diaspora, who are returning home motivated by renewed patriotism, improved conditions, and expanding opportunities. Government initiatives massively increased investment in healthcare infrastructure and international partnerships, which have begun to create an environment conducive for this reverse flow. Recognizing these critical challenges facing our health sector, the government remains steadfast in its commitment to strengthening health workforce retention through targeted policies and strategic initiatives. Significant investments are being made to improve working conditions, enhance career development opportunities, and offer meaningful incentives that encourage our healthcare professionals to apply their invaluable skills within Nigeria. Central to this commitment is the recently launched National Policy on Health Workforce Migration. Indeed, it made this bold. I should emphasize it, that this represents a decisive and forward-thinking approach to managing this complex issue. It introduces a range of incentives, including enhancement of working conditions, rural service incentives, fostering of ethical international corporations that will promote managed migration beneficial to Nigeria. Through this comprehensive framework, the policy envisions a resilient health system supported by a motivated and well-distributed workforce, helping Nigeria to achieve universal health care coverage and to elevate the quality of care for all citizens. Furthermore, in line with the mantra of the renewed hope agenda, the government is committed to stabilizing and strengthening key factors that expand Nigeria's fiscal space. This will enable us to do more in positively influencing both the push and pull factors, which are ensuring the retention and empowerment of our invaluable healthcare workforce for a healthier and more prosperous nation. At this junction, I must thank the IFEMED Journal Club for putting this intellectual engagement together. Please give yourselves a round of applause. This kind of discourse, originating from our future healthcare professionals, is an indication of hope, signaling that the next generation will not only appreciate these challenges, but will also actively be on the side of solutions. Drawing inspiration from Professor Ransome-Kuti's tenacity and foresight, the path forward for a more successful healthcare system in our dear country lies in embracing his principles. That is, primary healthcare is the core of our system. Transparency, equity, and a robust health workforce supported by strategic policy and political will. And today, as we honor Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti, we must redouble our efforts in reversing the Japa syndrome. We must strengthen our health systems and build a healthier Nigeria worthy of its legacy. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for that amazing goodwill message. Very quickly, we want to continue by acknowledging the presence of dignitaries, some other dignitaries that have joined us since we started the program.
So I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Dean, Professor A.A. Salako, ably represented by Dr. Razan. DORK crowd, please.
Sir, please, we'd like you to join us in front. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Please, the ORK round of applause as we continue. You guys are. Thank you very much. We also like to acknowledge the presence of Prof. Oyetola from dentistry. Welcome, sir. So I'd like you to join us at the front seat. Thank you.
It's also my honor to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Abiodun Kuti, represented by Dr. Ibitoye. My apologies. Represented by Professor Ibitoye.
Sorry, my video might also like to sit in front. Okay, thank you, ma. Then our special guest of honor is Dr. Taiwo Fasoranti, the Secretary to the State Government Ondo State. Is ably represented by Dr. Michael Bala, Chief Medical Director, Unimed Teaching Hospital. Please, a round of applause as he comes forward to give us his welcome address. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here this morning on behalf of the Secretary to State Government in the state, Dr. Taiwo Fasoranti, who is unavoidably absent. The Southwest State, all the governors, the ministers are holding a delegation in Akure. It started yesterday. It's a dialogue trying to promote the regional integration. In such a program, it becomes extremely difficult for the Secretary of State to be in attendance. Sends his appreciations that he will have loved to be here this morning. He agrees totally with what is being done here today. Being a product of this great university himself, he has asked me to greet our teachers and also the students who are here this morning. I'd like to greet our fathers on the high table. Professor Makanjola, all our leaders, the Chief Medical Director, Professor Ejatola, and all the leaders who are here this morning. I want to thank you for the great job that you are doing. We appreciate you so dearly. Myself, also being a student, being a graduate of this university, for me, it is coming. My sex, my first, when I came in this morning and I see that the environment have changed, because my first was the first set to use what we call Glory Land. As a matter of fact, I christened this place Glory Land. It was like it threw us into a jungle at that time, as it were. I want to say what we are celebrating today is something that should give all of us art sharing experience for two reasons. The fact that if a med is still sustaining the tradition over the years, I want to appreciate all the students that I think we should clap for yourself that we have not let down the ground over the years. Also, our late father, and I caught a generation, Professor Ransome-Kuti, that we're celebrating his legacy over time is something that so art sharing and heartwarming for the lives he lived, the example he laid for us in medical practice in this year. One thing that is clear is the good that you do, as they say, lives behind you. The topic that we're considering today is a very major and topical issue. As Chief Medical Director, if you have maybe 10 files in front of you, 2 or 3 sometimes, people are resigning. As you are bringing people in, they are on their way out. As you are bringing people in, that you are on their way out. I had an interview 3 days ago. The question I was asking the people, when are you leaving? That was the first question I was asking. For how long do you intend to stay? So let's be sure that we should be wasting our time or not. And that is how bad things are now in the country. There are days we read in history when they took our father in slavery forcefully. We blame those who took our parents in slavery forcefully. However, it is sad now that our own volition, with our own prayer, with our own hands, a lot of people, our colleagues, are walking into slavery. I know we are fast to say that the country is not good, there are challenges that are there. But when you also consider the realities of some of our people that leave the country, many of them are stranded, so many of them are frustrated. Psychiatry issues is so rampant, many homes are broken, just that many cannot think of coming back because of shame. It is not as rosy as it actually looks. And for that reason, everything we must do to make sure we make our environment conducive, to make sure we make the practice easy, those are things that must be done. And I'm sure the teacher today, our lecturer today, is going to do justice to the topic. What I want to say is that let's be attentive, let's give in this time the best of our time, and I believe we are in for a very good time of lecture this morning. Once again, I want to thank you for inviting my boss to be here this morning. Ondo State people, we are happy that what you are doing, and we pray that this practice is sustained. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please join us at the high table. So, moving on, we would love to welcome the Provost of College of Health Sciences, ably represented by Professor Olikoye for his goodwill message.
Good morning, all. I am representing the Provost of the College of Health Sciences. My name is Olikoye, the Deputy Provost, a physician, also a nephrologist. Standing on the existing protocol, I'd like to recognize the presence of the former Vice Chancellor of this great university, Professor Rogers Bakoyola. He's also former President of the West African College of Physicians and the former Chief Medical Director of this great institution, of this great teaching hospital, which is turning 50 this year. I would also like to recognize the presence of our very dynamic and transforming CMD, Professor John Okeni. Professor Olikoye, the former Vice Chancellor of the Elizabeth University, you are highly recognized, sir. And also former Provost of the College of Health Sciences. Also the former HOD of Medicine, Professor Keji Komolafe, who is also a governing board member of the World Sleep Society. That's a major agency, all over the world. Professor Komolafe, you're welcome. Dr. Arije, the PIC in Mesili, staff of the College of Health Sciences, my auntie, Professor Ipitoi, Professor Oyintola, Dr. Azan, you are all welcome. And of course, the family of our late sage, Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti. The provost sends our regards. It's well exemplified in page 6, and she's away for matters relating to critical college needs. We have a low carrying capacity in the college right now. We can only take in 120 to 140 students. And of course, we need to expand more so as to stem this trend of JAPA. So I think it's a way, to actually advocate for more funding for the college. The college is proud of the exploits of IFEMED, and we pledge to support initiatives aimed at improving scholarship, mentorship, and discourse. Also, today is supposed to be, well, this is just in sideline. Today is supposed to be lecture free. So the organizers, because we actually give you lecture free, and I'm surprised that we still have empty seats. So I think you have to give us, we need the attendance list of medical students of this university who are currently here. So I think we'll pass it on to the college leadership. So I think we have to tell others to come for this program right away. Okay, thank you very much. So we appeal to men of goodwill to support infrastructural developments in the college and also in the hospital. Very, very important, because the hospital is like a training hub of the college. And as I said earlier on, the hospital is turning 50 this year, and we seek more support for both the College of Health Sciences and the teaching hospital. Also, it's nice seeing undergraduates from other sister college medical schools, from UNIMED, from Lautech, from Oshogbo, all over. And we need to support such initiatives, collaborations between intercollegiate collaborations, not only in terms of discourses, but in terms of sports, research, mentorship, publishing. We need to see more of this. And as healthcare workers, we remain committed to the ideals of late Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti, as exemplified by honesty, transparency, diligence, and commitment to excellence. So once again, on behalf of the College of Health Sciences, we welcome you all to this important gathering. Thank you very much. So organizers need the attendance list in the next 1 hour. Try to mobilize your colleagues. This place will be filled up. Thank you. You have important dignitaries all seated, vice chancellors and the CMD too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please, a round of applause for him. Again, we want to appreciate our college for always being in support of programs like this by giving us this day as a lecture-free day so that we would all be around. So I want to encourage all medical students here to send a message of urgency to your class groups, your hostel groups, every group, asking them to be here right now, because the college has done their part, our leaders have done their part by giving us today to learn from these dignitaries and to celebrate this man. The least we can do is to be here. So please, I want to see us sending those messages on our class pages.
So thank you, everyone. To cap the welcome address, I would like to welcome Professor Rogers Makonjola, the former Vice Chancellor, Obafemi Awolowo University, and former Chief Medical Director, Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospitals Complex, to the podium. Please, a round of applause as we like.
Superior Jeff, can we all stand? Is the chairman of this occasion.
Yeah.
Please, let's all be on our feet.
One small correction. My name is Roger Makonjola. There's no S in my name. I am not Roy Rogers, the cowboy. The Honorable Minister, represented by Professor John Okenye, our very able and capable Chief Medical Director. The Provost of the College, represented by Dr. Okola, the Dean, the representative of the Ransome-Kuti family. We're very, very, very pleased to see you here, Dr. Ransome-Kuti. And we feel greatly honored that you've been able to come here today, because we really value the memory of Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti. The representative of the Shoyinka family, we were expecting some, I don't know if they're here yet. Today's speaker, Professor Ijadwola, the educational advisor, Professor Komolafe, editor-in-chief, members of the editorial team, all my colleagues in healthcare. I can't announce everybody's name. I do forget. I do apologize. Students of the college, other students here, including students from secondary schools, and of course, ladies and gentlemen. I'm truly pleased to be here today at this event in honor of Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti and his contributions to healthcare and to humanity. And I want to dwell a bit on his contribution and, to an extent, the contribution of his actual family. Olikoye Ransome-Kuti made significant contributions to healthcare in Nigeria, healthcare in the developing countries, and indeed worldwide. He was a pediatrician, but as you will see, he made major contributions in the field of community health and primary health care. Olikoye, however, needs to be viewed in the context of his family background. And you can't speak about Olikoye without reflecting a little bit about the family from which he came. His father, Reverend Oludotun Ransome-Kuti, was an educationist and trade unionist who stood up against our then colonial masters. His mother, Mrs. Olufunlayo Ransome-Kuti, was the foremost leader of female rights and activity against the colonial movement at that time. And this was in the context of a culture of extreme misogyny. Her most famous exploit, arguably, was when she led thousands of women to protest against unjust taxation. Incidentally, she died as a result of injuries received when the then military authorities invaded the home where she and Fela lived. May her soul rest in peace. Olikoye had two brothers, both of whom were in the forefront of the fight for human rights in Nigeria. The youngest, Fela, rose to international fame. He campaigned against corruption and campaigned against human rights. And these themes featured in much of his music. My favorite song by him is titled Authority Stealing and goes as follows. Armed robber, him get gun. Authority man, him get pen. Armed robber go steal 20,000. Authority man go steal 2 million. Pen get power, gun no get. The armed robber gets shot before a firing squad. The authority man is praised and adulated by everybody. The second brother, Beko, was in the forefront of the campaign against the then military dictatorship. He was also a leader of the Nigerian Medical Association at the time, and once led a doctor's strike that was unique because the objective of that strike action, was not to improve doctors' pay, but to improve the facilities in which the doctors worked. Something to be learned by all of us there. These two brothers I do apologize for diverging, but I must speak a bit more about this. The two brothers made a major impact on human rights and the fight against corruption. But has their impact actually lived on? I would say that there must be a question mark against that. Authority is still stealing, and lawlessness and oppression are still widespread in our country. One example of this is actually just a few kilometers from here, the Obafemi Awolowo University campus. That campus was invaded in recent years, and a substantial portion of this land of the university taken over and has been systematically sold. That land was gifted to the university by the then Ooni of Ife, Oba Adesoji Aderemi. It became the property of the university through a law passed by the then Western Region government. It is now being sold piece by piece. And where is the money going to? I believe Olikoye, I'm going to get back to Olikoye now, because I believe his impact was much more long-lasting than that of his two brothers. He was a pediatrician, and after his specialist training in Ireland, he took up an appointment at the teaching hospital in Lagos. He was in charge of the Children's Emergency Department and was absolutely dedicated to his patients. And he called them my babies. He was renowned for his care of these babies and for his expertise. He used to arrive at the emergency room in Louth at 7 o'clock in the morning, and mothers would lie in wait for him on his way in, asking for his help for their children. And he always gave that help. I saw this myself, and I will never forget it. In his early professional years, Olikoye came to realize that the majority of the illnesses affecting Nigerians were preventable or easily alleviated by early diagnosis and treatment, and that these measures could easily be provided by a robust primary health care system. He spent the rest of his life promoting the development of effective primary health care as the essential base of healthcare, and which should be supported by suitably developed secondary and specialist facilities. The World Health Organization adopted his proposals, and he worked with the WHO to develop and implement them for use worldwide. In 1985, he was appointed Federal Minister of Health by the then military government. He was given free rein and implemented the system within Nigeria. That system of a firm base of primary health care, supported by suitably developed secondary and specialist facilities, still forms the basis of the healthcare system in Nigeria. It is also the system that operates around the world. As minister, he was determined to improve the health system and the health of Nigerians. As examples, and I'm just going to give you two examples. He insisted, he implemented firm action to reduce the deaths of mothers in childbirth, maternal mortality in our country. In fact, he insisted that every such death be investigated and reported to the ministry. And we all had to comply with that. We all willingly complied with that in the OAUTHC, I must say. He was also chairman of the Working Party set up by the WHO and UNICEF to develop and implement the policy to restore, promote, and support breastfeeding worldwide. Olikoye appointed me as Chief Medical Director of this hospital. During that period, I worked closely with him. As minister, he was at his desk at 7 in the morning. I took advantage of this, and when I needed anything from him, I would turn up in his office at that time. And he always received me. And more important, he was always ready to help. One example of this was when we had no water in our hospital unit in Elisha, and we had not had water there for years. We developed a plan and costed it to provide a water works system in that hospital. It was estimated at $500,000 naira. We didn't have $500,000 naira. So I made an early morning visit to Olikoye's office, showed him the plan, showed him the cost. His response was, by the time you award this contract, the price would have risen. I will authorize $750,000 naira. The check duly arrived, and we completed that project. I believe the water supply is still functioning today, and I hope the CMD will confirm that. Maybe you should name that project in his name. Think about it. Olikoye was absolutely incorruptible. He never stole one kobo. Indeed, he accused many African governments of looting their own economies and stealing donated funds. Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti has all the qualities that I personally value: hard work, honesty, honor, care for humanity. I believe that the short account that I have given shows that he does have all four of those values. He certainly exerted a long-lasting influence on healthcare, not just in Nigeria, not just in the developing countries, but around the entire world.
Thank you very much, sir, for that deeply insightful remark that reminds us about the unicorn that is the man, Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti. Like you described him, a man of honor, of integrity, of honesty, who spent his life caring for all and reforming the healthcare system of Nigeria. We are also deeply honored to have you here, sir. Personally, being someone that grew up on OAU campus, Prof. Roger Makonjola is someone I've heard a lot about. Beyond being a former CMD, Chief Medical Director of this hospital, he was the Vice Chancellor that led Obafemi Awolowo University during tumultuous times to greater heights. and we are deeply honored to have you here. Can we all stand up to say thank you, sir? Let us stand up. Just say, oh, thanks, sir, for the remark. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. We can have our seats. So very quickly, we'll be moving on to a documentary. We've heard about Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti from his good friend, Professor Roger Makonjola. But we'll be watching a documentary that will lead us through a visual journey of his life and the various achievements that he had. So for members of the I table, we would love to crave your indulgence to please move to the first row so that we'll all be able to watch the video. Sorry for the inconvenience, sirs and Maz. I think the monitor at the back of the screen at the back of the wall is not really functional. So as they move to their seats, we'd like to acknowledge some other guests and schools that have joined us.
We'd like to acknowledge the presence of UNIMED. Can we please give them the ORK class? The University of Medical Sciences, Ondo State. We'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Vicarious Schools, Ile-Ife.
Then we'd like to acknowledge the winner of the first ORK essay, Dr. Tokwe Ojo. Thank you very much. So we'll be leaving your faces now so we can all pay attention to the documentary.
Activist who served as the health minister of Nigeria from 1985 to 1992. Born on the 30th of December 1927, Jabode, present-day Ogun State, Olikoye Ransome-Kuti came from a prominent Nigerian family. His father, Reverend Israel Oludoto Ransome-Kuti, was a distinguished educationalist and Anglican priest, and his mother, Chief Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, was an ardent women's rights activist. Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti had his high school education, after which he went to further his studies at the University of Ibadan, where he was one of the pioneering students related to the university. Olikoye was a man who drive to change. Okay. Hospital for Sick Children, Great Ormond Street. He attended Hammersmith Hospital's postgraduate medical school, completes his training as a pediatrician. Upon returning to Nigeria, Ransome-Kuti served briefly as a house physician at the General Hospital in Lagos. The lecturer. Professor. Okay. At this point, he realized emphasis had to be shifted from curative pediatrics to preventive. For every one child brought to the clinic, there were hundreds more in the community with the same illness. To effectively reduce morbidity and mortality rate, Professor Olikoye figured that one had to go where the diseases began, in the community. One of his major steps towards this community-focused health effort took the form of Society for Family Health, SFH. The SFH is a public health institution that Professor Olikoye founded along with two other Nigerians. The SFH grew to become one of Nigeria's largest health-focused NGOs. Then, in 1985, when Ibrahim Babangida became head of state, he appointed the professor into the office of the Minister of Health. A few years before this appointment, Babangida had been present at the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, where Professor Olikoye had delivered a riveting lecture. This lecture had a lasting impression on the soon-to-be head of state, and was what moved him to offer the professor the health ministry. As Minister of Health, Professor Ransome-Kuti was in action. He used the office as yet another platform to implement his plan of addressing diseases at the community level. Professor Ransome-Kuti introduced free immunization for children. He played a key role in the creation and spread of HIV/AIDS awareness in Nigeria. Under his administration, Nigeria's first comprehensive national health policy was launched. During his tenure, Professor Ransome-Kuti expanded primary health care into all local governments in Nigeria and worked diligently to ensure the implementation of primary health care policies and strategies. The emphasis was on preventive medicine. He institutionalized various practices, including exclusive breastfeeding, use of oral rehydration therapy, free nationwide vaccination, recording of maternal deaths, and maternity. Professor Olikoye, this fiery passion to drive change and of incorruptibility in the face of many opportunities, revolutionized the Nigerian health sector. And to this day, his impact in this sector is still felt. After his time in government ended, Professor Olikoye served as a WHO executive. He also served as the chairman of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency in Nigeria until the time of his death. Before his death on the 1st of June 2003, Professor Ransome-Kuti had published several papers in various medical journals and publications. He also held various teaching positions, including a visiting professorship at Johns Hopkins University School of Hygiene and Public Health. Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti was also the recipient of several awards, including the Leon Bernard Foundation Prize and the Morris Pate Award from WHO and UNICEF, respectively. The impact of the late Professor Olikoye influenced internationally acclaimed Nigerian author Chimamanda Adichie to write a short story titled Olikoye. The direct quote from this short story goes as follows. The minister's name was Dr. Olikoye Ransome-Kuti. He had big sleepy eyes and seemed to come from another time in the past when old-fashioned integrity was easy. His simplicity surprised my father, who was not interested in the usual carousing of the powerful, no late nights and drinking and trysts. This was the man, the feeling, and the legend that Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti was. This is why we celebrate him. The Female Journal Club welcomes you to the 6th edition of the Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti Memorial Lecture. Time to go.
What a man. What a life he lived. We hope that we celebrate this man, Prof. Olikoye Ransome-Kuti. We don't just acknowledge his life, but we are all inspired to live a life with those values and representing greatness as well. So to continue, we would love our distinguished guests to please come to the front of the eye table for a quick picture. Thank you. A picture, sirs. Please, a round of applause as they come. Okay. As they take the picture, we would love to recognize the other members and friends of the Kuti family present. Mr. Tayo Ransome-Kuti, a first cousin to Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti. You're welcome, sir. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Dapo Oyedipo, a family friend of the Ransome-Kuti family. We are deeply honored to have you both here, sir.
It's been an exciting event so far, and I think it's even going to get more exciting. And as I mentioned earlier, that I'm looking forward to I was looking forward to the keynote lecture, and that should be coming next after the picture session.
So we are at a very important.
I think you should be
juncture.
excited too.
Are you excited to have the keynote speech? Are you excited to have the keynote speech? I can't. Are you excited to have the keynote speech? So can you remember the maxim that I said at the beginning? Health, health, health. Any group that doesn't say, they'll stand up and do a quick dance. Any role, if you don't represent your role now, you stand up for a dancing competition. Health, health. Which row is standing up, Sheriff?
The middle row. On to the next section, which is the keynote speech. And to present the citation of our keynote speaker, Professor Katie Jadwola, I would like to invite Nwazwe Israel Chirunaya. Can we please applaud him with the oral paper?
Then the keynote speech will require projection. So we'll kindly crave the indulgence of our distinguished guests to remain seated so that they could follow the keynote speech.
Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to crave the indulgence of Professor Katie Jadwola. I'd like to crave the indulgence of Professor Katie Jadwola to please rise as we read his citation. Kayode Thaddeus Jadwola is a Nigerian physician and professor of public health in community medicine with 30 years of national and international experience. 25 of those as a faculty at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. He holds a medical degree of the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, a master's degree in the sociology of health, a doctor of medicine degree of the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, and a fellowship board certification of the West African College of Physicians in Public Health Medicine. He rose through the ranks at the Obafemi Awolowo University to become a professor of public health in October of 2011. Apart from his tenured position as a university professor, he is a consummate researcher, administrator, practicing physician, trainer, project advisor, and a multidisciplinary consultant. He has been continuously involved in the training of undergraduates and graduate students for upwards of 25 years within Nigeria and across West Africa. He has also served the university in various administrative roles till date, including as head of the Department of Community Health between 2018 to 2011, Director Institute of Public Health between 2015 to 2017, and Provost College of Health Sciences between 2017 to 2021. He had consulted widely for various governmental agencies, departments, and agencies, as well as major development partners, notably the Federal Ministry of Health, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, the WHO, the UNFPA, UNICEF, the World Bank, DIFD, USAID, the Ford Foundation, and the Malaria Consortium, to name a few. He's widely traveled and published in major peer-reviewed biomedical journals and periodicals. At various times, he was the visiting Gates Scholar to the Johns Hopkins University Bloomberg School of Public Health in 2004, and the Scholar in Residence at the Harvard University Chan School of Public Health in 2013. In 2014, he served as research advisor to the Sub-Saharan African Regional Community Health Department of the Shell Petroleum Development Company, Nigeria. In that position, he held the multinational company 2014's Ebola control response and support to the government of Nigeria for the rapid control of the epidemic. Again, in 2020, he was invited as subject matter expert as the Ford foundational epidemiologist to the 18-member ANAP Foundation National Think Tank of eminent professionals on COVID-19. This think tank has continued to offer timely advisory service to the federal government of Nigeria on the best possible interventions and scenarios for the effective control of COVID-19. Within the university, Professor Ijandola has served as the chair or member of several statutory and ad hoc committees or panels over the last 15 years. He was pioneer vice chancellor of the University of Ilesha, Osun State, between 2024 and 2025. He also served as the vice chancellor of Elizade University, Laramwoki, Ondo State. He's married to Prof. Messilina Yiyade Jadola, another public health physician, and between them, they have 3 wonderful children. Ladies and gentlemen, with a standing rousing ovation, let's welcome Professor Ijandola to give us the keynote address.
My teacher. No. And everybody else. The Honorable Minister of Health, who is ably represented by our Chief Medical Director and Professor John Okeni. The chairman of this occasion, our revered teacher, former Chief Medical Director of our hospital, and former Vice Chancellor of the Obafemi Awolowo University. And if I could recollect, he was Vice Chancellor when I was hired into the university as a lecturer 1, way back year 2000. I think, yeah, Professor Roger Makojola was Vice Chancellor. It's a pleasure to have you in our midst this morning, sir. Always a pleasure. The Chief Medical Director, who is wearing 2 caps here this morning, Professor John Okeni. The Chief Medical Director of UNIMED, our Dr. Bala. The Provost of our College of Health Sciences, who is ably represented by the Deputy Provost, Professor Okunola. The Dean of Faculty of Clinical Sciences, ably represented by Dr. Azan. Dr. Ransome-Kuti, the son of our late sage, representing the family, leading the team of the representative of the family here this morning. The editorial board of IFEMED, members that are here, Professor Komolafe, and all the other members of the board of IFEMED here present this morning, Professor Fatusi, who is ably represented by Dr. Arije, the visiting medical schools from all over the Southwest, I want to believe that are here, the executives of IFEMED Journal Club, our great students of Obafemi Awolowo University, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I must say that I'm highly honored to give this 6th IFEMED. I've made a lecture available. I'm sure it might be projected because I'm going to be reading the hard copy, but the soft copy is also present there for people to follow in the audience. Excuse me. I'm highly honored to give this 6th IFEMED lecture in honor and memory of the late sage, Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti, and in a special way,
Once more, I welcome Dr. Ransome-Kuti into our midst. May the gentle soul of Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti continue to rest in peace, and may his memory continue to be a blessing. Before I begin this lecture, let me make two very important clarifications. I will be quoting extensively paper delivered by Chief Wole Olanipe at the convocation ceremony of Olabisi Onabanjo University last year, which was centered on the exodus of Nigerian professionals from Nigeria into the diaspora and what can be done in the country, especially in the areas that address the judiciary and such related interventions. Because when I start to talk about issues in the judiciary, I'm not a lawyer, but I'll be standing on many of those submissions of Chief Wole Olanipe as declared. And that second, I'm not going to be very politically correct at this lecture, because sometimes political correctness is akin to telling lies. I'll say it exactly the way it is. I was really looking forward to meeting with the minister here so that he could hear, some of the things I'm about to say here this morning. But I'm sure that our able CMD, who is representing the minister here, will probably give him a copy of this paper so that he can also see some of the things we think government needs to do if truly we must be able to reverse the exodus of our healthcare professionals outside of Nigeria. So this lecture is titled, this is not clear enough. Can you do something make clear? It looks blurred. Reversing the exodus, retaining and empowering Nigerians' healthcare workforce. It is not a truism that the living condition of the average Nigerian is excruciating and appalling. It is a pathetic tale of economic hardship, insecurity, and structural deficiency, amongst others. The African Polling Institute report of 2024 documented that no less than 7 out of every 10 Nigerians were planning to exit the country to North America, Europe, Australia, or Asia. Suffice to state that the migration desperation is not restricted to the continents mentioned in the report, as it's been reported that Nigerians in their numbers troop into countries within Africa, including Sudan, Libya, Ghana, South Africa, Senegal, etc., sometimes with devastating consequences, as usually chronicled by the Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission. Every now and then we see on television how people are being brought back from Libya, from Sudan, people who have been enslaved for years, and then they're happy to be back in the country. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines the word exodus as a mass departure of people, emigration, and defines emigration as departure from a place of abode, natural home or country for life or residence elsewhere. In the Nigerian colloquial usage, the word japa, a Yoruba word meaning to flee and to be free, has assumed the same significance as exodus. The use of this word reveals the core inspiration underlying the mass emigration of Nigerians outside the country today. According to Professor Toyin Fanola, japa is a Yoruba word that does not mean to walk away. It is to flee from danger or a compromising situation. It means fleeing from an abusive relationship, an extremely demanding situation, and life-threatening issues. In his words, the king of the meanings is flee from Nigeria. Just as the word exodus represented liberation for the people of Israel, has come to represent the escape of Nigerians from their home country to a perceived promised land flowing with milk and honey. Human capital is the most critical resource for national development. Therefore, an investment in human capital will undoubtedly yield a simultaneous increase in innovation, social well-being, and productivity. Frederick Harbison, the quintessential American labor economist, aptly captured the tectonic impact of human capital on national development when he opined that human resources constitute the ultimate basis for the wealth of nations. Capital and natural resources are passive factors of production. Human beings are the active agents who accumulate capital, exploit natural resources, build social, economic, and political organizations, and carry forward national development agenda. Clearly, a country which is unable to develop the skills and knowledge of its people and to utilize them effectively in the national economy will be unable to develop anything else. Put in another way, a country that allows our human capital to waste or be dissipated cannot be taken seriously either by the citizenry or amongst the Committee of Nations, for it is the human capital that activates whatever other capital or resources any country is endowed with. Since the early years of independence, Africa has witnessed varying degrees of migration, both regular and irregular. Scholarships in African regional studies have mainly attributed this phenomenon to factors such as high poverty levels, rising unemployment, and the deplorable economies of most African countries, Nigeria inclusive. However, the post-COVID-19 trend of mass migration of Nigerians to different countries of the world, especially the United Kingdom as JAPA, is concerning with multi-phased implications. Unlike the early 1960s, when the emigration of the human capital was usually replenished by the education and experience gained in the receiving country and repatriated to the home country, the present loss of human capital appears to have no prospect of being recycled home. Report evince that a total of 141,000 Nigerians migrated to the United Kingdom between December 2022 and June 2023, and a total of 10,180 Nigerians obtained permanent residency in Canada between January 2023 and June 2023. This is a real likelihood that many of these individuals, unlike the early generations of the 1960s, may never return to contribute their quota to improve productivity and drive economic growth back in Nigeria. The implication of this continued loss of human capital on a developing country like Nigeria is economic regression, higher inflation, which wields the potential of plunging the country into a failed state. Furthermore, the current mass exodus is likely to replicate after effects of colonialism, such as forced displacement, cultural assimilation, and loss of heritage and identity. Therefore, it has become imperative to leave the content on the patterns and causes of this mass loss of human capital and the most effective methods of curbing the loss to save our country, Nigeria, before the giant of Africa dishonorably hits rock bottom towards understanding the human capital exodus in Nigeria today. Taking a cue from the state of fragility framework, the increased rate of migration from Nigeria can be viewed under three basic limits that affect any nation, that is social and political. In other words, the high level of poverty, unemployment, insurgency, political instability, insecurity, corruption, and stifling cost of living have significantly contributed to the ongoing forced economic migration trend. In effect, when a state fails in its social contract to guarantee basic security to its citizens, maintain the rule of law and justice, or provide good public amenities, it reverses the society to something in the similitude of the Obesian state of nature, characterized by the prevalence of criminalities, which in turn births refugees and leads to emigration, both regular of its population. The high rate of unemployment, lack of basic infrastructure, unwieldy bureaucracy, high cost of living, low standard of living, poor electricity and water supply, etc., constitute a breach of the social contract on the part of the Nigerian government, and this has resulted in a loss of faith in the government and in the future of their country. The Yoruba axiom goes thus: Ishe lo ogun ise, that is, hard work is the cure for poverty. This principle represents the basis of the Omoluabi concept in the Yoruba culture. It legitimizes the system of reward for hard work and provides the assurance of success for whoever is willing to work hard. However, the current social structure of Nigeria makes a mockery of this principle. The average Nigerian works tirelessly but earns scant reward, if any. This brings to mind an account of a Nigerian medical doctor who migrated to the United Kingdom, and whilst drawing a comparison with the compensation structure between Nigeria and the United Kingdom, noted that the amount he earns from working overtime in the UK far outweighs his total monthly package in Nigeria, although his bills will also be correspondingly higher. He noted that his decision to migrate was born out of frustration from low pay, underappreciation of skills, and the desire to secure a better future for his children, as he is of the view that the current Nigerian structure makes no provision for the protection of future generations. The events and happenings around us today reveal tension, pain, anguish, man inhumanity to man, torture, bloodletting, continuous and arrogant display of ethnic chauvinism, massacre, murder, assassination, kidnapping, systemic corruption, threat to peace and security, and the list goes on. The incessant kidnapping on our roads have succeeded in making road trips unattractive. The repeated tales of daylight robberies, several unresolved murder cases, both high and low profile, are constant reminders of the tales of insecurity in the land across every spectrum, including in the church, in the school, and even in the home. Causes and effect of mass exodus of human capital in Nigeria. We do not need to enlist sorcerers or mystics to tell us with precision, exactitude, and accuracy the challenges of the people of Nigeria today. From the hallowed chambers of the National Assembly complex to the multinationals and corporate entities, and to the newspaper stands with the landscape of both urban and rural settlements in Nigeria. There is an unequivocal consensus of the challenges confronting our country. Acute misgovernance, absence of institutions that make nations tick, contaminated institutions continue to parade itself as the wish of the majority of Nigerians. Mistrust among the ethnic nationalities, sycophancy in and around government at all levels, holders of office, as opposed to according them due respect, widespread intolerance, substituting the sovereignty of Nigeria for the whims and caprices of the leaders in power, corruption, epileptic power supply, growing unemployment, total collapse of infrastructure, insecurity, utter disregard for the sanctity of life of the Nigerian, impunity, and gross disregard for due process and the rule of law, comatose industries and institutions, to mention a few, are some of the ills we all agree as impending, hampering, and stifling our development as a nation. While being mindful of the fact that the rot enveloping the Nigerian landscape started a long time ago and did not begin with the present administration. Government, however, is a continuum, and Nigeria remains an experiment in continuity. President Bola Tinubu has been quoted to have expressed his worry about the Japa syndrome, which his administration inherited from previous administrations for obvious reasons. In his words, part of our commitment is that we want to reverse the ugly trend and ensure that we sustain and retain our medical experts within the country through several interventions and measures. There is no doubt that this presidential statement is very encouraging and should constitute a soothing balm to our youth. Howbeit, there is a need to back the assurances with commensurate actions. In the government at all levels must always feel the pulse of the people and ensure that there are no gaps between what government says at any level and the actual state of affairs in the country. Statistics and trends. Nigeria faces a severe shortage of skilled health workers, as the country currently has a density of only 1.83 skilled health workers per 1,000 people, which falls short of WHO's recommendation of 4.45 per 1,000 people. That's like a 250% shortage. With a population expected to reach 263 million by 2030 and a growing trend of medical professionals leaving the country, this problem is poised to worsen unless addressed effectively. Evidence abounds that at least 1 out of every 5 extraordinary talents in any organizations overseas is a Nigerian, and health professionals form a long chunk of this. While this syndrome is not novel at all, as there is evidence that as far back as 1988, then military President Ibrahim Babangida did set up a presidential committee on brain drain under the leadership of Professor Oyebida Pogbe, whose committee reported that about 10,694 professionals had at that time been lost from our tertiary institutions alone. What is, however, of concern is the meteoric spike the syndrome has taken in recent times, as individuals continue to flee the country in droves, also our corporate entities, multinationals and foreign direct investments. The exodus of multinationals such as Unilever, Guinness Nigeria, Bolt Food, Jumia Food, PZ Cousins, GSK, Procter & Gamble, Shell Petroleum Development Corporation, to mention but a few, a bad omen for Nigeria. Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, Nigeria lost 15 multinationals between 2021 and 2023, leading to the loss of about 20,000 jobs. Many hospitals, production and research centers in Nigeria today are without specialists and consultants, while Nigerians in the diaspora are doing exploits and making global waves, and the list is long and endless. From our own Professor Olikoye, the extremely gifted fetal surgeon, my classmate and friend, and Dr. Olurotimi Badiro, the world's first and only dual certified cardio-nephrologist, who is also our own alumnus, to the thousands of Nigerian specialists practicing their trade in the various health institutions across the globe for the health systems of those countries. The reality staring us in the face today is that many teaching hospital wards, clinics, and academic departments, from LASUT to AUTHC, from UPTH to UITH, and everywhere, such wards, clinics, and departments are shutting down due to shortage of nurses and doctors on account of their massive relocation abroad. And many more will still shut down unless something is done, and urgently too, to address the malady. The potential effect of this danger to our already feeble health system is better imagined than expressed, but the managers of our health system had always treated this with levity, at least until the very recent. As one past labor minister was publicly quoted to have said that the mass exodus of health professionals was good for the country as a source of foreign exchange and as an incentive to continue to produce more professionals for the global market. The current health minister has, however, acknowledged the crisis, remarking that the country currently faces a severe shortage of doctors, with only 55,000 licensed doctors serving a population of over 200 million. He stated that in the last 5 years, 16,000 doctors have left the country and 17,000 have been transferred, and expressed concern about the mass exodus of healthcare professionals and other skilled health workers seeking better opportunities abroad, leaving Nigeria with a bare minimum of professionals to manage our healthcare system. Retaining and employing skilled healthcare staff in our labor force is the only magic wand needed to change the Nigerian narrative to an enviable one. It will mark the beginning of the Nigerian healthcare reform. With all respect to the institutions of government, it has chosen to be incorrigibly myopic, while preferring foreign aids to chasing its own horses after they are all bolted. At the stable land, that is the Nigerian state, not be negligent by failing to bolt the stable, that is providing an enabling environment. Will the horses have bolted? It then behoves the same stable land to recover the bolted horses. Let's look at the trajectory of healthcare worker migration in Nigeria. There have been at least 3 phases of exodus of health workers out of the country in recorded history. In the pre-independence and early post-independence era, when the opportunities for and access to higher education in Nigeria were limited, Nigerians and other citizens of the British Commonwealth found it fashionable to emigrate out of the country to the United Kingdom and other countries of the West, essentially to acquire tertiary education. Some went for undergraduate studies, while others who had obtained their first degrees here went to acquire graduate specialist training. They spent a variable number of years studying and working part-time to obtain their degrees and diplomas, often joined by their spouses to start a family. And after a period of sojourn, returned to the country to take up positions in the fledgling public service, while a few of them went straight into private practices of their own. This pattern continued into the early 70s, and most of our teachers in medical school followed this trajectory, including our revered Professor Roger Makojola, for their training and held foreign postgraduate qualifications, something that will later put them in positions of advantage for easy emigration a second time. They formed the nucleus of trainers in the first and second generation medical schools across the countries in the 70s and 80s, as the expatriate professors and trainers of the 50s and 60s gradually withdrew their services and returned to their home countries. This, in the real sense of the word, cannot be described as mass exodus. However, as the economy of the country took a downturn at the dawn of the structural adjustment program of the Babangida era of the late 80s, the earning power of the Nigerian professionals was grossly eroded, while inflation and the cost of living took a flight. This period birthed the first true ever mass exodus of health workers, especially the medical consultants and nurses, who essentially built and managed the country's health system that both Nigerians and the international community were once very proud of. As undergraduate medical students in the 80s, even here at the Obafemi Awolowo University, while we were in school, we literally watched our trainers flee the country in droves due to the very harsh economic climate of that era to take up contracts in the countries of the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, Kuwait, etc., while others returned to the countries of the West, where they had their undergraduate and graduate training to resettle with or without their families. They were left with very little options, as the introduction of SAP literally wiped out the gains of the middle class from the country. Medical consultants and professors could barely keep their cars functional on the roads. A number of them were already in their 40s, but either still lived in rented apartments or in houses built with loans that they could no longer seamlessly service from their salaries due to the prevailing levels of inflation. One of such victim senior professors aptly captured the situation in his autobiography when he narrated the circumstances that led him and his colleagues to flee the country to Saudi Arabia. Quote, some of us are taking federal mortgage bank loans to put up our buildings in the housing corporation of the government reservation area. We are paying monthly mortgages without default until the advent of SAP. Due to the devaluation of the Naira and the unparalleled level of inflation, our salaries became so worthless and we could barely meet the basic financial commitments to our nuclear families, let alone the extended. We started to default on our housing mortgage payments. By the third month, the Federal Mortgage Bank wrote that they were going to foreclose the mortgages and take over the property. An option. Glad to inform readers that with the first month's pay in Saudi Arabia, we were able to fully pay out the balance on our mortgages, and our spouses and children could sleep with their two eyes closed again without fear of becoming homeless, while not minding our prolonged sojourn to foreign lands at huge costs to the family, unquote. The situation was so bad that some academic departments in our medical schools were at the brink of shutting down due to the mass exodus of professors, or were left with only one-man standing armies who held forth while others were gone. And I may bold to say here that Professor Roger Makojola was one of those ones who stood back even when people fled, because I was here and I was a living witness. Many of the emigrated professors stayed on till their retirements in foreign lands before returning home, while a few others returned to the country to their old jobs or helped to start new medical schools, but only after they had secured enough comfort to weather the storm of the harsh economic climate at home. This trend continued through the 1990s and almost led to the total collapse of the country's secondary and tertiary health systems until the intervention of the Obasanjo civilian administration, Fourth Republic, when the financial incentives given to doctors and other health workers became significantly improved with the birth of the medical salary scale MSS and others. This was not won on a platter of gold, but as a dividend of prolonged industrial action by the National Association of Residents from 1998 through middle of 1999. And I was part of that struggle. I remember we were not paid salaries for 10 months, but we were resolute. Through the mid-90s to 1999, when the country transitioned to the Fourth Republic, the MSS intervention significantly slowed down the mass exodus of doctors in the early 2000s, and the National Residency Training Program once became very attractive and competitive. Young doctors were now resigning their appointments from private and state-owned facilities to join the residency training programs in federal hospitals for the sole reason financial package of the MSS. young consultants coming out of training, fulfillment in their careers. As the middle class gradually crept back into existence in the country, they stayed on the job, rose on the academic ladder, and became the leaders of the health system once more, taking charge and stabilizing the system. Once more, both young and senior doctors alike were able to attain some semblance of middle-class living, typified by the purchase of automobiles in fairly good conditions, decent accommodation that either owned or rented, and the enrollment of children in decent schools. However, things started to take a downward spiral again in the last 10 to 15 years, as the Nigerian Naira once more entered a free fall against the dollar, the US dollar, a situation that has grown worse in successive years till date, and consequently entered a new phase of rising insecurity of lives and property. These adverse outcomes were also attended by rising inflation and an existential cost of living crisis. Basic public infrastructure like electricity, water, decent public transportation, and good public schools for children of school age became a luxury that only a few could afford. Public universities were perpetually in crisis due to frequent industrial disputes between the government and the academic staff unions. Road and train travels, when available, became difficult due to activities of marauding kidnappers and bandits. Worse still, the health professional unions lost all sense of professionalism for a patient-centered care and progressively derailed into an era of unhealthy rivalry where everyone wanted the same level of compensation and rewards, irrespective of their job description, degree of responsibility, and intensity of training. All that the citizens, especially young professionals, felt daily was a impending doom. This has ushered the country into the third and the worst phase of mass exodus of health workers and other professionals ever witnessed in the history of our country. The vulnerability of Nigerians, as several other nationals, were further exposed with the advent of the COVID-19 crisis and the accompanying national lockdown. As if this was not bad enough, the fiscal and monetary policies of the current administration at inception, however lofty for sustainability, has greatly compounded an already bad economic and social milieu for the citizens with the floating of the Naira and the removal of the fuel subsidies. While every commodity is priced against the US dollar, the monthly net pay of a Nigerian professor of medicine and senior consultant only amounts to a few hundred US dollars, while his expected expenditure is in thousands of dollars. It is worse for younger doctors. Mass exodus of professionals, young and old, has therefore once more become the order of the day in search of better remuneration, job satisfaction, better public amenities, and a secured living arrangement. The current immigration crisis is the worst in the history of this country because it involves people of all ages and professional categories: medical students, young medical graduates, resident doctors, young consultants, experienced professors, and even retired professors fleeing the country in search of one unmet need or another. It's never been this bad. Academic departments and units in our medical schools are at the brink of shutting down once again, as it happened in the young doctors are not holding any stable positions in any establishment. They only want appointments. The duration of their writing foreign examinations and making job applications before they exited the country. Our hospital departments are outrightly short of residents, and the university departments comprise only professors of the rank and files because nobody has applied or been employed in the last 10 years. Nobody seems to know the way out of this on the immediate term, but government at all levels also don't seem to appreciate the enormity of the crisis and are only applying tokenism as remedies. The Nigerian government's response to the health workforce crisis. In August 2024, the Nigerian government introduced a policy targeted at addressing the health sector workforce challenge. The new initiative, tagged the National Policy on Health Workforce Migration, is reportedly at tackling the critical challenges facing the country's health human resources, aiming to manage, harness, and reverse the emigration of healthcare professionals. The Minister of Health and Social Welfare, who is ably represented here this morning, remarked that the aims to stem the exodus of healthcare professionals. He wrote, and I quote, policy, more than just a response to the ongoing exodus of healthcare professionals, is a comprehensive strategy to manage, harness, and reverse healthcare worker migration, and envisions a thriving workforce that is well supported, adequately rewarded, and optimally utilized to meet the healthcare needs of Nigerians. It further remarks that the policy will create an environment that encourages professional development and stability and seeks to retain the best talents within Nigeria. This message cannot be more apt at this time and seems to strike all the right chords and make all the necessary optics. But what exactly are the details of this policy? It is expected to introduce targeted interventions for healthcare workers, especially those in rural areas and those setting up private facilities. It supposedly includes special programs and improved medical supplies, mortgages for facilities, tax breaks, and regular review. Also to enhance training by expanding institutions, fostering international collaboration, and funding postgraduate education. It will support a one facility per ward initiative and includes measures for worker safety and well-being, with ongoing monitoring to track migration patterns and inform adjustments. The policy's emphasis on digital health infrastructure, including electronic medical records, telehealth, and a comprehensive health workforce registry, that represents a major milestone towards a more efficient and driven healthcare system. These technological advancements are expected to simplify healthcare delivery, promote fair distribution of health workers, guarantee access to quality care for all Nigerians. Capacity building is another cornerstone, focusing on continuous professional development, strategic partnerships, and international training to equip healthcare professionals with cutting-edge skills, demonstrating a commitment to retaining and empowering the workforce. The minister said, we facilitate the return and reintegration of Nigerian health professionals in the diaspora by simplifying processes and offering attractive incentives, leveraging their expertise to fill gaps in the health sector and strengthening the healthcare system. And it goes on. But let's look at the strength and weakness of the policy. Although, please go down. Although the policy has several strengths, as comprehensive approach and focus on improving conditions in rural areas, it also has notable pitfalls. On arrival, comprehensive approach to countries, similar challenges, both similarities and differences. Many nations, including those in the Caribbean and Sub-Saharan Africa, use incentive programs to retain healthcare workers in underserved regions. However, Nigeria's policy is less detailed in terms of economic incentives compared with other countries that offer substantial increases and benefits. The absence of specificity, incentives, and improvements in salary undermine the effectiveness of this policy on day one. Nigeria's focus on training and capacity building is also in line with global practices seen in countries such as India and South Africa. Additionally, potential disparities in state-level incentive programs may not be able to address the ever-present uneven distribution of healthcare workers, remembering that the states don't ever match up with the federal government, even when incentives are improved. And so you find that most doctors and health workers want to stay in the state capitals and the federal institutions. The policy also does not directly address the issue of reducing working hours, which is a substantial factor in worker satisfaction. Although the policy incorporates systems for integrating returning diaspora health workers into the Nigerian health system, the poor health worker remuneration and ravaging insecurity in the land are major elephants that continue to create the push factors that cause Nigerian health workers to want to flee the country and also keep the Nigerian diaspora health workers away from returning to the country. And until these are addressed, I think this policy will just be scratching the surface. Countries such as the Philippines have more established frameworks for leveraging diaspora expertise that Nigeria can learn from. As Nigeria continues to refine its approach, learning from different models will enhance the effectiveness of its policy and better address the challenges faced by its healthcare system. So, what is the way forward? Besides the niceties of the national policy on healthcare workforce migration and the inherent pitfalls already identified that may hinder its successful implementation, the current Nigerian administration has a number of unprecedented steps if the healthcare system must be preserved from imminent collapse due to the ongoing health workforce mass exodus across the country. Some of the steps must be sufficiently bold and taken outside of the health system, although all will snowball to positively impact the health system on the long run. The first thing we must do as a country is to entrench consequence management. Truth be told, it is not everyone that has joined the Japa train that has done so for economic reasons or only out of quest to make ends meet. There are tales of successful doctors, bank executives, captains of industry, senior lawyers, and all manners of decent people who have also fled the country for places they consider saner climes. After all, everyone desires a working society. Every reasonable man, irrespective of his social status, desires a free and fair election, does not want to wake up to the news of murder of hundreds by some monster stacked as unknown gunmen, wants to sleep with both eyes closed. As it currently obtains in Nigeria, every man is a government to himself, as he generates his own electricity, provides his own security, builds the road to his house, provides water, facilitates his own health care, and the education of his children, and the list of the basic social responsibilities that should naturally be borne by the state goes on. With all due respect to the Nigerian state, this is symptomatic of a dysfunctional system, and anyone with an option will opt for something better. But the current chaos did not emerge from the abstract. It's a function of human actions and inaction, which have over the years sedimented into the monster that it has become. Had our society been one that encouraged consequence management by ensuring there is consequence for every action and inaction, things would not have gone as awry as they have become. For instance, if every public officer is, by available empirical facts, aware that there's a timely consequence for embezzlement of funds, dereliction of duty or negligence, then human instincts, his daily activities will be guided by an elevated measure of responsibility and responsiveness. Man, by its natural configuration, is more likely to adhere to rules and regulations when propelled by the knowledge of the immutable consequences or recalcitrance. Given the fact that the machinery of states is human-driven, the utopian state with desire can only be achieved through effective and timely dispensation of justice without fear or favor, affection or ill will. The stability and quality of a society and its laws are often determined by the degree of importance the former attaches to the judiciary and the powers it gives to it. That is, this is measurable in quite a number of ways, including whether the judiciary is independent, that is, if it is not beholden to any special interest or to either of the other two arms of government. The independence of the judiciary is desirable in any organized society that cherishes the idea of the rule of law and human freedom. The competence and integrity of the bench is the second criterion. Judges must be competent, learned, and of high integrity in order to command universal respect and approval. In essence, a functional society requires a balance of sound and reputable judges for an efficient dispensation of justice. While it is not in doubt that the loss of confidence in the judiciary is a recipe for anarchy, it must also be realized that it also plays an influential role in the tide of mass exodus of human capital from Nigeria today, because people just think it's not worth the while. Proper funding of educational and health institutions in Nigeria over the years, as strike has become an inseparable phenomenon in the Nigerian education system. This is attributed to the fact that the Nigerian tertiary institutions are grossly underfunded. Students and lecturers have been leveraging on the various international scholarship windows to further their studies abroad as earlier identified. And this has led to massive loss of valuable manpower to overseas countries. To overcome the challenges, therefore, our tertiary institutions must be well funded, while also ensuring adequate individuals and corporate organizations to organize and set up counterpart interventions and trust funds. Truth be said, the government cannot adequately fund education and health interventions alone without the support of alumni, private individuals, corporations, and foundations. I am a living witness to the power of the alumni in the lives of global institutions, including our own College of Health Sciences. It is high time the bull was taken by the horns to rescue the great-sightedness of learning that made us proud citizens of the world. Corporate organizations should look beyond sponsoring students' jamborees, as they always do, as their corporate social responsibilities, to start to truly invest in sustainable interventions in our health and educational institutions. Merit-based upward review and remuneration of health professionals. The salary disparity between Nigerian health professionals and their counterparts in other climes must, as a matter of urgent national importance, be addressed. It goes without saying that the purchasing power of the Nigerian doctor is tremendously impaired, and this is a veritable recipe for brain drain. In August 2023, the chair of the Committee of CMDs of Federal Teaching Hospitals in Nigeria, Mbasi, while speaking before the ad hoc committee of the House on employment, racketeering in federal agencies, submitted that even African countries are now cheating Nigerian medical specialists and other health professionals by offering $3,000 and $5,000 monthly salaries, something which is now more than 5 times or more what they are paid at home. The Nigerian Technical Aid Corps was also recently in the news, where it was declared that the government of Nigeria was sending Nigerian professors to Uganda and some other countries to be paid $2,000 and $3,000 monthly salaries, whereas the same government pays the same professors at home $300. Government at all levels must critically review their reward system for health professionals and the use of productive bargaining to arrive at a living and realistic wage that can give health professionals the basic comforts of family living and safety, while they in turn concentrate on the healthcare of Nigerians. Practically retrieving experts and academics of Nigerian extraction in the diaspora. The Premier University of Ibadan had an international reputation as a leading center of excellence in tropical medicine. And news had it that Saudi Arabia family used to frequent the University College Hospital Ibadan for medical treatment in the 60s. Many of the Nigerians who performed these feats returned from their overseas studies to develop their centers at home. We have today many centers that are doing great exploits in our country. Open heart surgeries, brain surgeries, cardiac bypass, renal transplants, the list is endless here in our teaching hospitals, but are poorly funded. Such centers cannot attract any of our diaspora talents to work with them because they will simply be lost and unable to understand how the system should work in such great lack. Our government must wake up from this slumber and learn with vigor how to adequately recognize and reward all Nigerian talents, home and abroad, who are poking the world with their ingenious touches and excellence, while we try to reenact the good old days when Nigeria was a pride to the world. Building stronger institutions and reviving the value of the Naira. In the 1970s and the early 80s, the Naira was stronger than the US dollar, many other foreign currencies, often exchanging for $1 to 75 kobo. I was still a witness to this. This provided a lot of incentives for other nationals and expatriates to take up appointments in Nigerian institutions and provide the needed diversity for sustainable growth and development. Today, however, the Nigerian Naira has not only completely lost its value against the dollar, but it has become a nightmare to its owners, having totally lost its bargaining strength to other currencies. The characteristic instability in the exchange rate is a strong catalyst for mass exodus of health professionals, and the operators of our fiscal and monetary policies must rethink and rejig the whole system to give more market value to the Naira in order to gain international competitiveness and appeal, realistically confronting the plague of corruption and enthroning transparency. Brain drain has been identified as a product of structural inequality in the political economy of the country, where those who control political power aggregate economic power to themselves through corruption, Corruption is the abuse of public trust for private gain. It is about the fastest means of accumulating wealth in Nigeria today. Corruption occurs in many forms, and it has contributed immensely to the poverty and misery of a large segment of the Nigerian population. On the contrary, absence of corruption encourages investment and efforts to expand the pie rather than merely fight over the distribution of the pie. To this extent, improvements in governance in general and reduction in corruption in particular will be means to accelerate the process of development. Hence, the instrument of good governance anchored on the principle of the rule of law, high level of integrity, transparency, probity, and accountability becomes imperative for us to curb the menace of brain drain. Efficient and effective economic management. Breaking the infamous spine of hasty generalization, there's hardly any country in the world that is naturally irretrievably poor. The poverty of any country is largely premised on the particular method, structure, and policy adopted by the country's principalities and power in the distribution of its natural resources. The major challenge of developing countries is rooted in the mismanagement of the available resources, both natural and human, like the voice of him that cried in the wilderness. We will continue to urge the Nigerian government to take a cue from Lee Kuan Yew and disembark from their conventional and endless wasteful tours, curtail their corrupt chases, blot out the infirmity of ethnic chauvinism, resist the lure of personal aggrandizements, and bring every perpetrator of misappropriation or embezzlement of public wealth to book. It cannot be again said that infrastructural development is an essential ingredient of social and economic stability. And to buttress this assertion, the World Bank estimates that every 1% spent in infrastructure will lead to an equivalent 1% increase in GDP, which gives a positive correlation between the two. Unfortunately, Nigeria's poor infrastructure has spiraled into a cancer. In the 1960s and 70s, Nigeria, Malaysia, Indonesia, Taiwan, Singapore, and South Korea have similar GDP per capita. But today, these countries have by far exceeded Nigeria in growth due to increase in their infrastructural development and total productivity. They have also become countries of destination for migrating health professionals. An overhaul of the current constitutional regime. While the successive national assemblies of the Fourth Republic have over the years attempted the drafting of a new workable constitution, which has led to the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth alteration, all these still remain a window dressing, as the foundation and origin is very faulty. As you may recall, what we call the constitution of the country today was birthed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Promulgation Decree 24 of 1999, which came into effect on 5th of May 1999, whereas the Fourth National Assembly was inaugurated on the 29th of May 1999, 24 days after the decree that brought the constitution came into effect. So the critical question to ask is, who are the people referred to in the preamble of we the people in that constitution? Could we the people be referring to the members of the General Abdulsalam Abubakar's Supreme Military Council or General Abdulsalam Abubakar himself? After all, Yorubas will say, loosely translated in English to mean no singular person can assume the pronoun we. Therefore, if anything is to be done to what we currently refer to the Constitution of the Federal Republic, then it must start from writing the lies told against itself by the Constitution. With the benefit of hindsight, that Constitution was promulgated by the military regime of Abdulsalam Abubakar after the Constitution Debate Coordinating Committee led by Justice Nikitobi submitted its report. Besides the fact that the committee barely had 2 months to consult with Nigerians before submitting its report was merely advice and cannot by any means of argument answer the question, we the people. A lot of untruths and misplacements are banned in that constitution. For example, Section 2.2 of the constitution describes Nigeria as a federation, whereas in actual fact is a unitary constitution. How can a country be a federation when the entire property in and control of all the minerals, mineral oils, and natural gas in, under, and upon the land in Nigeria, or in, under, or upon the territorial waters, and the exclusive economic zone of Nigeria be vested in the government of the federation? What is then left for the component units known as the states? The effect of this is that all the skill at the federal capital territory on a monthly basis for handouts, rather than states contributing to the center. This is the beginning of economic woes, which is sending Nigerians fleeing the country in their droves. In terms of security, how do we have a federal government with federating states where the governors do not have any jurisdiction or power over the security systems or the apparatus in their state? Yet a governor is casually labeled as the chief security officer of the state. He does not appoint the commissioner of police in his state, as all he sees is the deployment of a commissioner of police to the state. He has no say even in that deployment. We should stop deceiving ourselves by sending police commissioners from any state in the north to the southwest or the southeast or vice versa, when such police commissioners have never been to such places before or have no idea or knowledge of the language or dialect of the people. How does he communicate or enforce security? Nigeria is too big and large a country for a constitution to potentially foist on us a single police command under the aegis of the Inspector General of Police. This last explosion, the last explosion at Ibadan, as a result of house swearing and stocking of explosives meant for mining purposes, should serve as an eye-opener. Several lives and properties were lost. The federal government issued the mining licenses without the knowledge of the governor, but the governor was and is the one abused and accused and lampooned by the citizens for the gory incident. Simply put, our own federal constitution system is an aberration, and it's high time we drafted a new constitution for the federating units by the people themselves. Conclusion. All said, Nigeria as a country is the greatest loser in this narrative, while the citizens, those who flee to other countries and those who stay, are also losers in diverse ways, including the fact that they are always situated between a rock and a hard place, oscillating between the devil and the deep sea. Yet, one is reminded of the words of Andrew Carnegie that east or west, home is the best. In our collective interests, our generation must make the home not only conducive, but also attractive for our children, nay, our youth, to remain focused and be fully engaged immediately upon leaving school. This was what obtained when a good chunk of those in government at various levels left their various schools. We must never convey to our children and grandchildren the story of a better yesterday, making them think that we are rendering to them moonlight tales. Even in the olden days of trade by barter, countries exchange products or goods produced by them for items of commensurate value, which they did not have, and vice versa. Juxtaposing this old practice with the efflux or exodus of our human capital, as represented by our youth today, the intriguing question arises, that is, what does Nigeria gain in this present narrative? Indeed, we gain diaspora respect, remittances, whereas we lose everything else. Our generation has inflicted this sordid situation on our children and youth, as well as ourselves. Hence, it is imperative that we halt the negative trend. Otherwise, history will be harsh to all of us. Thank you so very much.
Let's keep clapping. Let's clap again, please. We can have our seat. What an excellent thought and a thought-provoking speech. He said, we need to halt the current situation in order to ensure that things don't get even worse for the future generation and those coming after us. I'm really curious to actually hear from us, members of the audience, what stood out for us during the keynote speech. And we'll also be taking questions. If you have any question at all, we have distinguished guests here. Aside the keynote speech speaker who is ready to take our questions. Don't worry, this is not Viva, right? So you can ask your question. Not going to mark you down. So if you have any questions, please note them now. Anyone can ask questions, our secondary school students present. If you have any question, note your questions. We'll be taking questions, and we'll also be taking feedback. You don't know, there might just be an award for those that would speak up during this session. So very quickly, some people joined us during the keynote speech, and we need to recognize their presence. So please join me as we recognize the presence of Prof. M.Y. Adola, our Chief Judge of the National Essay Competition, and the HOD of the Committee of Health. Very quickly, please let's stand up as our Chief Medical Director representing the Coordinating Minister of Health and Welfare takes his leave. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence. Okay. So please, a round of applause again for Prof. M.Y. Ijadola, our Chief Judge of the occasion. Yes, thank you very much for coming, ma'am.
I'd also like to recognize the presence of the FUMSA president, Mr. Miracle Olajuibe, and the whole executive council. I'd also like to recognize the presence of the speaker of the FUMSA SRB, Mr. Olawale Daniel.
Okay, so we are going to the question and answer session now. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. So if there are no questions, so we'll be taking the feedback now. Like I said, there might just be an award for giving us a good recap of what you learned during the keynote session. Who wants to help with that? Anyone? Okay. Okay, he has a question.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much, sir, for that stirring presentation. My question is, when you were talking about some of the factors that were responsible for the migration crisis with health workers in Nigeria, I noticed that there was nothing about specialized training for residency options. It looks like sometimes some persons do choose the options of travel because the options for training, while they do exist here, are not as high quality. And so they are worried about training in these top tier institutions and with better exposure. So I was wondering what you could provide by way of an answer to the government to help ensure that these trainings are also internationally standardized for our meeting. And then my takeaway from this was particularly very interesting to observe that we are not in the first cycle or in the second cycle, but we are in the third cycle of the migratory crisis. And I think that offers us some hope. Because if the first one didn't take us out and the second one didn't take us out, in the spirit of Prof's lecture, if we are willing and we are determined to, we can actually provide solution to the healthcare crisis in Nigeria. So thank you so much, sir, and that's my question.
Thank you. Please, a round of applause. I was going to say that this is the first time I'm getting to know that we are not in the first migration cycle. And like you said, that gives us hope that if we survive the first and the second, we'll survive this one too. We'd like to pass the mic to our keynote speaker to take his question. Please don't judge me. I won't judge you. If you love me.
Let me start by advising us, if I made the handlers, that I know it took a long time, but let's be mindful of time. Let's manage time. There are people here who are elderly, who might not be able to sit for too long, for other commitments. So let's just be mindful of time. As much time we can gain, let's try again. Going back to your question, yes, perfectly, absolutely right. But that's not new. As you remember, I said the first cycle or phase of migration of health professionals in the pre-independence and independence era. It was because of shortage of facilities, opportunities for training in all manners of specializations that people went abroad. And people have always done that. And you remember, I also said that they gained the expertise, came back to come and develop the country with. So people will always do that at any point in time, even today. No matter what facilities we provide, there will be people who still want to go out, and do a few things. But the question is, what do they do when they acquire the skills that they've gone out to acquire? Today, there's no incentive to come back, because when you are that sophisticated and you've built such skills, you don't even have the facilities to come and put them to use back at home. So they'll be ready to just stay back, and the country will continue to be the loser for it. So it goes back to the issue of infrastructure development. We must develop infrastructure. We must improve remuneration. We must provide a conducive and working environment, to the extent that what the government is trying to do now, to bring back diaspora expertise to the country. In the new policy that they're talking about, most of the diaspora experts that have come, they are to the public system. They go to start highbrow private practice in Lagos, and in Port Harcourt, that the average Nigerian cannot use, because to have an appendectomy in any of those facilities, you need 5 million. So the people who don't have 500,000 to do appendectomy in OHHC, they find 5 million to go to eyebrow. So that's not the kind of retrieval of diaspora expertise that we're talking about. We must improve the system of the country. The country must work. And that was why many of my recommendations didn't center just on health, the health system, health workers. I went around all the things that will make the country a place that people really want to come back and live in. And until we do that, people will continue to go out and acquire knowledge, and they probably come and do anything.
Thank you very much, sir. A round of applause for him. Thank you very much, sir. Can everybody imagine? So, very quickly, we'll be taking a tribute video by Dr. Ann Austin. This is someone who worked very closely with Professor Olikoye, Ransome-Kuti. So we're taking a citation just for the video. To take the citation, I'll be inviting Faithfulness Omotosho. A round of applause.
But you won't take the sting out these words before I say them. Cause ain't no way I'm gonna let you stop me from causing mayhem. When I say I'm gonna do something, I do. I give a damn what you think. Doing this for me. The fuck the world feed beings. It's gassed up. You think it's stopping me? I'm gonna be what I set out to be. Without a doubt, undoubtedly. And all the crew look down on me. I'm tearing down your balcony. No advance.
Good afternoon, everyone. Standing on existing protocol, I would like to read a citation of Dr. Ann Austin. Dr. Ann Austin is a distinguished scholar and global health leader whose career spans academia, international development, and health systems strengthening. She holds a BA honors in social policy and administration from the University of Nottingham, an MSc in social policy, first class from Uppsala University, on a UK government state studentship, and a PhD from the Union Graduate School in Cincinnati, Ohio, as a Ford Foundation Fellow. Dr. Austin began an academic career as a junior research fellow in the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Ibadan, and subsequently served as a research fellow and later associate research professor at the Institute of Child Health and Primary Care, College of Medicine, University of Lagos. For 2 decades, she worked closely with Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti, first alongside him at the Institute of Child Health and Primary Care, College of Medicine, Lagos, and later through the World Health Organization, providing support to the Ministry of Health during his tenure as Nigerian's Minister of Health. This long collaboration exemplifies our deep commitment to national health leadership and capacity building. Internationally, Dr. Austin has served with the World Health Organization and as a senior health advisor for the UK Department for International Development, DFID, in Nigeria, Ghana, India, Malawi, and Pakistan, and as a team leader for DFID's HIV program in Kenya. She has provided technical leadership for USAID, World Bank, UNAIDS, and the government of Zambia, among others.
From 2011 to 2019, she was the focal person for health systems on the technical review panel of the Global Funds to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, helping oversee the allocation of nearly $5 billion per year across 150 countries. Dr. Ann Austin's lifelong devotion to equitable health access, evidence-based policy, and mentoring in low-resource settings stands as a powerful testament to her scholarship, leadership, and service to humanity. Please welcome Dr. Austin, who will be joining us online.
And legal voice. Greetings to everyone in your continuous audience today. Privileged to do for 20 years. This was firstly at the Greetings to everyone in this distinguished audience today. It's a great honor to be asked to share memories of working for Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti, which I was privileged to do for 20 years. This was firstly at the Institute of Child Health and Primary Care, College of Medicine, Lagos, from 1973 to 1988, and secondly, through WHO at the Ministry of Health from 1988 to 93, in support of Professor Kuti as Minister of Health. Professor Kuti was indeed an amiable boss, always courteous, always pleasant and good-humoured, always warm and caring, always wanting the best and facilitating the best for those who worked for him. But he was also someone with the highest standards of professional commitment, and he expected the same from his team members, exemplified in a small but important way by his insistence on punctuality. Many humorous stories have been told over the years about those locked out of his meetings by arriving late. Professor Kuti believed strongly in working as a team, and the team meetings he established in ICH and PC at the College of Medicine and subsequently at the Ministry of Health during his tenure as minister became the crucible for the groundbreaking work he led, firstly in teaching primary health care at the university level, and subsequently as Minister of Health, putting in place the foundation for primary health care across the whole of Nigeria. This experience of collaborative working greatly influenced my own style of working in my subsequent international career. It stayed with me as a model of effective leadership throughout. Professor Kuti was a true hero of health for all, and his commitment to working collaboratively, to working in teams, and in so doing providing inspirational leadership, meant that he also led his team members, all of us who worked for him, in a heroic direction. In this way, he gave each one of us a sense of how we too could do more. We too could go the extra mile to reach the goal of health for all. And as an amiable boss, this ability to inspire us was his genius, and one of the reasons he's remembered by us and held in such esteem by us so many years later. Thank you for listening.
What a heartfelt tribute video reminding us to intentionally choose to live a life of greatness. Very quickly.
Following is a tribute from the Olikoye Ransome-Kuti family, and I would like you to give a round of applause as I humbly invite Dr. Ransome-Kuti to the podium.
Let's keep clapping till he gets here.
Um, Thank you very much. My dad was a really great person in terms of his contribution to work, his contribution as a family man. He taught us as a family to be honest, hardworking, and try to be the best we could be in whatever we did. And you would see that in all the traits of the Kutis, whether it was Fela, whether it was Beko, whether it was himself. He used to say to me, if you want to be a thief, make sure you are the best. And I'll say, okay. If you want to be a rascal, make sure you're the best. But if you want to be a vet, you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, always try and be the best. And we have always tried to live within his principles. I will tell you, it's extremely hard. You can't be like him. He was too honest for all of us. We like to steal meat. We would like to go behind the corner and take something. He never did that. I'm yet to find somebody who would come up to me and say, your dad was not honest. I'm 64 years old, I'm going to be 65. And all my life, all I have heard about my father were good things. He was not rich. Thank you. He was not rich. He always lived within his means. When he left the Olikoye residence, he went back to Yaba to his lovely 3-bedroom flat. And he would have stayed there if he was not given a World Bank job where he was able to save money and build a house that when he saw, he said was too big. Anyway, he was a man who was humble, very approachable, very amicable. But if you look into his eyes, you would think he's a very wicked man. But he was as gentle as a lamb, very accommodating, very understanding. We still miss him till today. Very unlike his brothers who were rascals, Fela and Beko. He, in his own way, too, had the same kind of mannerisms, because I heard in Medilag he was named Fela. Why? I don't know. But he was a very honest, hardworking, dedicated man. And he would always want people who were with him to be like that. So once again, I would like to say thank you so much for honoring my father. In Nigeria of today, we don't honor great people, we honor thieves. We give them big names, we give them honors and all that. So to find somewhere in Nigeria where you honor honesty, dedication, loyalty, I doffed my cap and I said, thank you so much, Olikoye. God bless you all.
Can have us once they said that it's been we are privileged to honor the legacy of such a great man. And I think let's give a round of applause to Female Journal Club for folding the legacy.
awards and presentation section.
A round of applause. Are we curious to know the award, the winners of the national essay competition? Are we curious to know the winners of the national essay competition? Before we move on to that, the award session is actually in 3 sessions. But before we move on to that, I would like to crave the indulgence of our distinguished guests to please return to the high table. Stressing you thus far. Please let's keep clapping as they move. Let's continue clapping, please. Let's not stop, sorry. Thank you very much, Dan, Ma. They've been with us from the beginning of this program. Many of them came even before the rest of us. I don't know if I should let you know that if you came after them, you may not collect our special gift at the end of the event. All right, so like I said, we'll be moving on to the award session very quickly. But I want us to do a quick exercise as we've been sitting down soon. So except our distinguished guests, please can we all rise on our feet? Our distinguished guests can remain seated. So we are celebrating the legacy of a great man, Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti. So we'll be using our bodies to spell ORK. So find a creative way to spell ORK in the parts of your body. So now we'll be starting with O. Oh, everyone. R. Let's be the most creative R. R. Hey.
I'm the best my generation ever seen.
Please don't speak your name. Thank you very much. Let's have us.
I never miss. I miss my
So what's the first session of the award part, Sherry?
Receiving the special ORK Award of Excellence is Dr. Babatunde Adetunji. I'm sure we are curious as to why he's receiving such an award. And I'll be calling on to Lawrence Vincent to read the citation of Dr. Babatunde Adetunji. So please
Please, a round of applause as we come forward.
So I'll be finding silver lining where the mother said I need patience in due time and I'll be reclining by design. I've been grinding for my knees. What a whip to give my nephew, put them diamonds on my knees, shining. So dope that I purchased 88 keys for mama to play a song and karma.
Good afternoon, everyone. Standing on all existing protocol, I'll be reciting the citation of Dr. Babatunde Adetunji. Dr. Adetunji is an accomplished psychiatrist and academician who has triple board certification in general psychiatry, forensic psychiatry, and addiction medicine. After completing his basic medical training at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, he proceeded to bag the master's in human ecology at Vrije University in Belgium before starting his psychiatric residency training at the prestigious Kaiser St. Thomas Hospitals in London. He further obtained another master's in mental health studies from the University of London and a diploma in psychological medicine from the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland in USA. Dr. Adetunji further trained in psychiatry at the Drexel University College of Medicine, Philadelphia, and completed his forensic psychiatry fellowship at the New York University of Norristown State Hospital. He is the president and CEO at the Executive Center for Psychological Medicine, Warriors, New Jersey, and the president of IFEMED Alumni, the North America chapter. Dr. Adetunji has co-authored many publications in highly esteemed journals like the American Journal of Psychiatry, Journal of the American Academy of Psychiatry and the Law, and Archives of Psychiatry. He has presented at the annual meetings of the American Psychiatric Association and the American Academy of Psychiatry and Law. He is also a peer reviewer for the Canadian Medical Association Journal and the Journal of American Academy of Psychiatry and Law. Dr. Adetunji is a clinical associate professor of psychiatry at Drexel University College of Medicine, a fellow of the American Society of Addiction Medicine, a fellow of the College of Physicians of Philadelphia, and also is a distinguished fellow of the American Psychiatric Association.
I'm the average boy from the average streets with an empty pocket.
We also like to the second awardee of this special ORK Memorial Award is Dr. So the second awardee of this special Memorial Award is Dr. Ransome-Kuti. Dr. Ransome-Kuti, ably represented by Professor Ibitoye. But before that, we would like to invite Professor Katie Jadwola, who is representing Dr. Babatunde Adetunji, to receive his award. The award will be presented by the chairman of this occasion, Professor Roger Makonjola. Along with Professor Komolafe.
To the rise and fall.
I wish to congratulate Dr. Babatunde Adetunji on his excellent award. And I wish him well in his future.
To be the best, number one, and nothing less. Lead me to my destiny. I have waited patiently. I have vision, oh, I believe. I know I can count. So stand up for the champion, for the champion.
Congratulations, sir. So we'll be inviting Lawa Singh Kolawole to read the citation of the second awardee, Dr. Ransome-Kuti. A round of applause as he comes forward.
To be the best, number one, and nothing less. Lead me to my.
Good afternoon, everyone. Standing on all existing protocol, I would like to read the citation of Dr. Kuti Raymond Abiodun. Dr. Kuti Raymond Abiodun is a highly accomplished consultant general radiologist with over 30 years of clinical, academic, and administrative experience. He leads the medical team at Prisms Healthcare Limited, Lagos, where he continues to set high standards in diagnostic imaging and healthcare delivery. A graduate of the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Dr. Kuti holds BSc and MBCHP degrees, as well as a postgraduate fellowship in radiology from the same institution. His pursuit of excellence took him further to Brigham and Women's Hospital, Harvard University, Boston, USA, and Whittington Hospital, UK, for advanced post-fellowship training. He is a fellow of the National Postgraduate Medical College, Radiology, the Nigerian Institute of Management, and the Corporate Governance Professionals of Nigeria. Dr. Kuti is also a member of several prestigious international bodies, including the American College of Physician Executives, the American Institute of Ultrasound in Medicine, the Radiological Society of North America, and the Radiology Leadership Institute. Dr. Kuti has contributed significantly to the medical profession through extensive publications in peer-reviewed journals and active involvement in both undergraduate and postgraduate medical education. His leadership track record includes serving as National Secretary and current National President of the Guild of Medical Directors, National President of the Association of Radiologists in Private Practice, State Chairman of the Association of Radiologists, Lagos, former Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Medical Association, Osun State, Chairman of the Ethics Committee in Osun and Lagos States, National Secretary of the National Association of Resident Doctors. He has served on several federal health committees, including the National Health Council, the Presidential Health Reform Committee, and the National Health Insurance Administration. Beyond the medical field, Dr. Kuti is a committed philanthropist and community leader. He sits on the board of NGOs such as the Cerebral Palsy Center and the Educators, and serves as chairman, Board of Trustees of Lighthouse Christian Center, Lagos. Dr. Kuti Raymond Abiodun is widely respected as a visionary leader, a dedicated teacher, and a tireless advocate for healthcare excellence in Nigeria. Please welcome Dr. Kuti Raymond Abiodun, is represented by Professor Ibitoye Bolanle Olubunmi.
Still room for greatness.
Let's continue serving as Professor Ibitoye step forward to receive the award on behalf of Dr. Kuti. To present the award, we'd love to invite Dr. Michael Bala, Chief Medical Director, University of Medical Sciences, Ondo. We also still love to invite the chairman of this location, Professor Roger Makonjola. Please a round of applause as he comes to present the award.
We'd also like to invite the family of the Olikoye Ransome-Kuti to join in the presentation of the award.
On behalf of the organizer, like to present this award of excellence to you, my recognition of the great service done to humanity, and also to propel you for more contributions to humanity. Congratulations.
Dr. Ransome-Kuti, and a representative and representing our board chairman, Dr. Awije. Thank you very much, sir.
Is this working? Yeah. It is a real pleasure for me to present this award to you, Professor Kayode Ijadiola, for the fantastic lecture that you gave us, which has opened our minds to not just the problem, but the solution to that problem. Congratulations, you have done very well today.
Wait till I get my hands on you, because I need your body closer. Love it when you bend over. Help me make I come over. First take I pull over. I need your body closer. Help me when you bend over. Help me make I.
Thank you very much, everyone. As you can see on the program, we are very, very close to the end of this program and to collecting our special gift. But like I said, Sheriff, should we give latecomers? Okay, so some months ago, a call was put out for people to write essays, and many people yielded to this call, wrote the essays, but only few made it to the top. And today we will be awarding the winners of this essay competition. To take this session will be the chief judge of the essay competition. A round of applause as we invite Prof. Marcelina Ijadiola. Please a round of applause.
TB, I have to give you 10 times. Back and miss it, everything eternity. Put it down, we can make a family. Go be your defender. TB, I have to give you 10 times.
Thank you so much. Duly observed to the family of late Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti, represented here by Dr. Ransome-Kuti. Thank you so much. And Professor Roger Makanjola, our keynote speaker, Professor Katie Ijadiola, Professor Komolafe, Dr. Awije in all capacities, and members of IFEMED, all medical students, dental students, and students represented here, secondary school students, technical crew, and guests. I have been saddled with this responsibility, but before I set on my agenda or my task for today, I want to greet my classmates who is seated here on the high table and is doing wonderfully well. In the name of Michael Bala. We have our nicknames. I'm not going to say them today. And thank you for the good job you are doing. And you probably thought for a second I forgot about you. Thank you. It's good to have you here. And so, about March in particular, the essay competition titled Global Health Workforce Migration and its Impact on the Nigerian Health Sector, Challenges and Migration Strategies was launched. And this, for the reference of what was supposed to be a 2,000
worded essay competition. After it was launched, or the call was out, in fact, there were about over 200 plus entries. Yes. So please clap for yes. And so the entries were screened by some residents from the Department of Community Health, among whom is here. Thank you, Dr. Chris Olikoye, and Dr. Olikoye also. They screened and pruned from 200 plus to 82. And after which, the second stage. And then we also did that again, down to 10. And from the 10, the criteria for the process was looking at the introduction, the clear outline. We also looked at the clear objectives, if they were clear, flow of ideas, adherence to the theme, and strength of argument, correct grammar, spelling, aesthetic writing. Then we looked at the essay wow factor, being engaging content, vivid storytelling, authentic voice, descriptive language, clear theme, and 3 winners have emerged from that process. So please keep clapping. And then what? So first and foremost, before I go to the 3 that have emerged, I want to acknowledge the entire top 10. Are they present here? Please stand up for recognition. Thank you. We understand that the applications came from all over Nigeria, College of Health Sciences and College of Medicine in different universities. And we appreciate you that have traveled all the way, and we acknowledge you. Thank you for coming. And congratulations for making it to the top 10. Please sit. Please have your seat. And we also note that some people couldn't make it down here. So let me start by letting us know the 3rd place winner. And this person, are you waiting? I know, right? Because I also have to leave. So yes, so we are on this. So the 3rd place winner is all the way from guess where? University of Maiduguri. Yeah. Abubakar Daniel. Is there a representative here? Oh wow. Awesome. And so you are Abubakar Daniel, 3rd place winner, essay competition. Well done. Congratulations.
All the champions, stand up, stand up. All the champions, stand up. All the champions,
So this winner of the Ransome-Kuti essay competition, please. Exactly. It's Abubakar Daniel Badi. Thank you so much. Sorry. Thank you so much. Congratulations. That was good. And so, in 2nd place, middle place, is Buhari Ahmed, University of Ilorin. who is representing Buhari Ahmed. This process was entirely blind process. We didn't have an idea of the names until now in this hall. Who is representing? Any member of the FUPSA can represent this person in second place. Buhari Ahmed Oyinda Mola. The president. Miracle, are you here? Okay, please come. Dr. Arija, please come. Thank you. All right. Okay, we can move forward. Thank you so much. Okay.